Let's talk about a constitutional crisis. If you've been paying attention to the news lately, you would have heard this phrase over and over again.
I'm deeply concerned that we will have a constitutional crisis.
It would be part of precipitating a constitutional crisis.
I was in the White House during Watergate. You don't want to live through a constitutional crisis because government stops functioning.
I'm now convinced that we will be facing the very real possibility of a constitutional crisis.
This is a really big deal. I know you weren't paying attention in high school civics and government class, so I'm going to break this down to you so you'll know the real deal. I'm attorney Eric Guster, and these are the 3 facts you need to know about a constitutional crisis. Fact number 1, the federal government is set up in 3 separate branches: executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch. They're all set up that way because they have checks and balances. If one branch gets out of line, then the other branch can check them. As an example, the travel ban, which was done by the executive branch, which is Trump, is being challenged in the judicial branch in the federal court. That is why the federal court can stop Trump, because that is holding him accountable. That's why all these judicial challenges and all these court challenges are occurring. The judicial branch has a right to override the executive branch. The judicial branch can say, hey, stop. You can't do that. If the judicial branch tells the executive branch to not do something and the executive branch decides they're going to do it anyway, that begins the constitutional crisis. Fact number 2, the president must abide by judicial court orders. Donald Trump is hinting that he may not abide by the court orders. He already issued a tweet which read, "I call my own shots, largely based on accumulation of data, and everyone knows it." I call my own shots. See, that's the problem. Trump is saying he's going to do whatever he wants to do. That has a lot of people nervous. Very, very nervous. The basis of this potential constitutional crisis is if the federal judge tells President Trump he can't do something, then President Trump says, I'm going to do it anyway. Y'all can't tell me what to do. That is a constitutional crisis because 2 branches of government, the executive branch and the judicial branch in this case, are battling over who's right. If President Trump is told that he can't do something by a federal judge and President Trump does it anyway, all hell's gonna break loose. Fact number 3, the Supreme Court makes the ultimate decision. Whatever happens in these federal courts will ultimately end up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. That is part of the judicial branch, which you've heard me talk about that a little bit earlier. Now, this is the important thing. Trump's Supreme Court nominee is up right now. The Supreme Court right now is split 4-4, 4 conservative justices and 4 liberal justices. In this case, you may have a deadlock. That's why the Democrats and Republicans are fighting tooth and nail over the Supreme Court nominee. Because if they get the Supreme Court nominee through, Trump told the GOP to go nuclear to make sure that his nominee gets on the Supreme Court. That means Trump will get the swing vote. And he can tell folks just like this.
Who gonna check me, boo?
If Trump can tell people, I'm going to be able to do whatever I want to do because I know I have the votes on the Supreme Court, then we have some serious issues. It's going to be great for Trump because his agenda will be able to be pushed through, and if anyone challenges it, he knows that it will go up to the Supreme Court. That's one of the scary facts with this entire scenario. To sum this all up, because I know I've said a lot in this particular episode, if Trump knowingly violates the Constitution, purposely does it, that is a constitutional crisis because the judicial branch can tell him to stop. But if he ignores them and says, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, we're in a huge problem. And let me tell you why. The judicial branch can tell the executive branch they're wrong. But if the executive branch does whatever they want to do, then that could actually lead Trump to impeachment, which I'll talk about that later on. Another major issue with this, Trump has the power to write executive orders. He can write order after order after order because the Supreme Court and the other federal courts, it will take them weeks and months to hear these cases and hear these challenges. So he can change the language a little bit and do another executive order, then another one, then another one. That is one of the scary things that many of us have realized that Trump may be willing to do. If Trump tries to push all these executive orders through, he can wreak havoc on our system of checks and balances. That's what a constitutional crisis is. If you've learned something from this video, Please make sure you share it, like it, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll have more videos coming in the next few days.